Shabbos. There was a man named Rav Eliezer Lippman, and he and his wife owned an inn in a small town called Tiktin in Poland. Do you know what an inn is? An inn is like a mini hotel. Yeah, it's basically a place where travelers can stop and sleep for the night and eat a meal and wash themselves. Especially back in the day when there weren't airplanes, if you had to travel a long distance, it would take you a few days. And every night you would have to stop at an inn to sleep for the night and to get a meal and to wash yourself. So they owned an inn and they were very generous people. Of course, they charged money. It was their parnasa. They needed it to make a living, but they always went above and beyond. If there was somebody who didn't have so much money and couldn't pay, they would take him in anyway. If there was somebody who needed a little extra food or a little extra time, they would let him stay. They were always balei chesed, going above and beyond to help everybody. And sometimes there were poor people who were traveling who didn't have enough money to pay for an inn, and they would always make sure to stop there because they knew that no Jew would ever be turned away from the Lippman's inn. So one evening, the Lippmans saw outside that there was a group of people who looked very poor, who looked very worn out. Some of their clothes were ripped and tattered. And they went out and said, "Do you guys need a place to stay?" And they said, "Yeah, but we don't have so much money." And he said, "Don't worry about it. Come in. We'll give you a meal. We'll give you a place to stay. No problem." And while they were eating, Rav Lippman saw that they looked a little dirty and worn out. So he said, "Can I bring you water to wash yourselves?" And they said, "Thank you so much. We'd really appreciate it." So he brought them warm water. By the way, back then, warm water was not something that everybody always had. You had to warm it up on a fire. It was a whole big deal. But he wanted to make sure that they were comfortable and that they were clean and that they could take care of themselves. But he saw that there was one man in the group who looked particularly sick and poor and broken. He saw that he had boils on his skin. He really didn't look well. He looked old and sick. So Rav Eliezer went over to him, Rav Lippman went over to him and said, "Can I give you some water to wash yourself?" And the man said, "I'm too old. I'm too sick. I don't have energy." And he said, "Please, I want you to take care of yourself. I'll bring the bucket right next to you. All you have to do is dip down and wash yourself." And the man said, "I'm too old. I'm not feeling well. I can't." So Rav Lippman said, "I want you to be able to wash yourself." So he went and got a towel himself. He dipped it in the bucket, and he helped the poor old man wash his skin so that he could be a little clean, so that he could be refreshed, so that he could feel as good as he possibly could. And at the end of Rav Lippman helping this man wash himself, the man said to him, "I want to give you a bracha. I'm so appreciative of the chesed that you showed me. I give you a bracha that you should have sons who are as great as me." Rav Lippman was a little surprised. Who is this man? Just a random traveler, old and sick. My sons should be as great as him? But he said, "Thank you, and amen." The next morning, when the group was checking out from the inn, he noticed that everybody was there except for that one old man. He had disappeared. Fast forward many years, and Rav Lippman and his wife had two sons. And they were the great Rav Elimelech of Lezhensk. Rav Elimelech of Lezhensk was one of the greatest and earliest Hasidic Rebbes, who was looked up to by all of the people of his generation and beyond. And Rav Elimelech's brother, the great Reb Zisha. The great Reb Zusha. Two amazing brothers who in fact were perhaps as great as the man himself, who was Eliyahu Hanavi. Rav Eliezer Lippman and his wife realized that this was their final test. This was to see, you do chesed all the time, you help people. Are you willing to actually get down on your hands and knees to wash an old, sick, and poor man who can't do it to himself? And Rav Lippman said, "Absolutely. I will always be there to help a fellow Jew, no matter what it means I have to do." And because of that, he was zocheh to have two of our greatest tzaddikim as his sons. Never underestimate what one little chesed, helping out, providing food, a place to sleep, or even washing, providing water, doing whatever you can do to help a fellow Jew, you never know what your reward could be, or who you might really be helping. Good Shabbos, everyone.
Good Shabbos.